Welcome to another amazing show. We've got Kerry. She's joining us from Atlanta. Welcome, Kerry. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Tristan. Coast to
Well,
coast.
I want to talk about Fellow because you guys have made a lot of noise, a lot more noise just over the last year. It's nuts. Everywhere I go, it's like anyone is using Fellow to really connect with this database that has been sitting there for years. And I think what you guys have done in identifying who's important in your database, I think is really, really catching fire in our industry. And it's about time because most of us just sit on the most amazing piece of thing that we've got and we never use it. So
Yep.
you guys have made it more precious, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for saying that. That makes me feel great. I've been with Fellow since the very beginning, onboarded our first beta users, and to see how it's taken off in the industry over the last several years has been extremely rewarding. And I'm honored to be here chatting a little bit more about it with you today.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Let's get right into this one. Let's talk about optimizing our data so we can build stronger data, build a stronger
Yeah.
database for the rest of this year. Where do you want to start with this? Because I've got a few questions for you.
Sure. Maybe we just kind of take a step back and talk about like what is Fellow to start, just
Perfect.
in case we've got some folks who are joining us live or watching the recording who have never heard of Fellow before.
Okay.
And then we can talk a little bit about just overall like why database is important, and then I can nerd out and show you all the things that I'm excited about. But no, so Fellow is a database platform that plugs into the database or the CRM platform that you already have, right? So I always say to an agent, like, just at its core, think about Fellow as a supercharger into your database, right? Whether you've got your database on a Google Sheet or a CSV file export from somewhere, or you're sophisticated and you're a high-level power user of a CRM, right? No matter where that database is, Fellow is going to be a plugin to that to help you get better data, to automate the right message to the right person at the right time, to ultimately convert more listings. So if you don't remember anything else about Fellow today, just think about that supercharger analogy of if you want to power your business to be more profitable through leveraging your database, Fellow is going to be your partner to do that.
Perfect. I like that. That you simplified it. Listen, I want to close more transactions,
Right.
and you're helping me do that with my database.
Exactly.
All right, everybody listening in, let us know what city, what state you're in. I'd love to just know. I'm in borderline Ventura County, Los Angeles County. So depending on how I feel, I'm saying I'm from LA or I'm from Ventura. So there you go. Where do you want to start with this? Do you want to showcase how the back end of this works as I start asking questions, or where do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Let's kind of just start off with like the importance of the database and why Fellow was built and the strategy that we have for the platform. And then we can jump in and I can show you guys all live what it looks like. And I'm seeing some of the cities come through in the chat.
Yeah,
Welcome.
familiar faces.
Yeah.
What's up, Tracy? Nice to see you here.
Yeah. Hey, guys. So here at Fellow, we believe that your database is your biggest asset in your business, right? And so many of us have either built databases over time through purchasing leads. We've built them organically, SOI. We've purchased or acquired databases from others. In time and time again, I hear from our clients that I've got this big database, or I'm starting to build a database. I feel like it's messy and I know that I'm not getting everything out of it that I possibly could.
Yeah.
So what we know for sure here at Fellow, because we have all the data, and I'll show you this here in a second, we know for sure without a doubt, and it happens with every agent in every market. Everyone always tries to stump me, right? They're always like, well, I'm in a second home market, or I'm in a luxury market, or, my market's different for X, Y, and Z reason, but it doesn't matter. This stat always rings true no matter the size of the database or the market that you work in. 7% of your database is going to list their home over the next 12 months.
Really?
7% of your database that you already have already listed their home over the last 12 months, right? So let's just use like really easy math, as 7% is hard for me mentally. Let's say you have 1,000 contacts in your database, right? That's 70 listings that are going to occur in the next 12 months with or without you. And 70 listings already occurred with or without you over the last 12 months, right?
Damn, that's a
So
lot.
if you've got 10,000 contacts, right, that's 700 opportunities. If you're got a big team or you've been doing this a long time and you've got 100,000 contacts, that's 7,000
I don't
listings.
wanna know that. That's
Right?
terrible, Kerry.
So everybody just like take a time to like, have a little bit of an internal panic, because that's actually the first emotion that everybody has when they join Fellow is they're like, what have I done? Like, was this a
Terrible.
mistake? Like, I feel sick, like knowing
Yeah.
what I was sitting on, but I didn't know. Right. And so what my ultimate goal for anyone at Fellow is, how do we start to reclaim some of that database? And the first step in that is we've got to clean up and we've got to enrich the data. And I know that's what we want to talk a little bit more about
Well,
here today, Phil.
I have a question about database in general. So whether or not people are using an Excel sheet, Follow Up Boss, Lofty, I don't care. What have you found since you've been with this company since the beginning?
Yeah.
What are the common issues that agents face just with their database, regardless of where it's from?
Right. Right. So there's two things. Number one, you mentioned like a few different platforms. The best platform to house your database is the platform that you're going to use. Right. So for some, that means having it on a Google sheet and they're going to use it every day. Great.
Mhm. Yep, yep.
For some others, that's one of the well-known CRM platforms out there, whether it's a Follow Boss or a Sierra or Lofty or Sync, or the list goes on and on. So number one, you want to get your entire database into one platform, whatever that is, right? There's no wrong answer. There's nothing that's truly better than the other. It's what are you going to use, and what are you going to monitor? All right. So that's number one. And I always hear this, well, oh, I just put my past clients in there. Or I have this other list over here. Or I just kept my Zillow leads in the Premier app, right? Like, no, like you want to centralize every contact that you have access to into one platform, so you now truly understand what you have. That's step number one, right? And then step number two, to answer that question, is now we've got to complete the database, right? So this is the number one problem that I see with every single client. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you're, just getting started out or you've been doing this for 20 years. I've worked with over 20,000 agents who have joined Fellow, and I see this every single time. We need to complete the database because a lot of what you have is partial data. And what I mean by that is typically we've got an email address, and we got a phone number, we got name, and I see over 80% of the time we do not know where that person currently lives.
Wait, I have a question for the audience.
Yeah.
Do everyone listening in, does that feel familiar? Like a lot of your database is incomplete. You're missing like maybe the home address, maybe you're missing the phone number. Maybe I can tell you right now, Kerry, that first of all, when you said 7%, I'm like, I've got 150,000. Like,
Oh,
terrible.
I
And then
see.
and the next thing I thought was some of those are incomplete, and now you're telling me that. So,
Yeah,
let me know in the chat how you all feel about that. Incomplete or complete,
right.
mostly. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say incomplete for me.
Yeah, over 80% of the contacts that we see here at Fellow are incomplete, meaning they are missing current home address. You might have some form of contact information, but you don't know where they currently live. And the reason for that is not bad. It's just that we have historically, as an industry, built these databases on buyer leads, right? Over the last 10, 15
It's
years,
true.
that's been one of the top ways that we have as an industry have built these databases, whether we're buying leads from portals, we're running ads to our IDX feeds on our website, like all of that, it captures a lot of really great contact information of folks who are looking to move and buy, but it's incomplete data because we don't know where they currently live, right? And so that is the first step. If you are looking to reclaim your database, take ownership of your database, which again is your number one asset in your business, to leverage it for more listings and start to chip away at that 7% that's going to list with or without you, the first thing you need to do after you pick a platform, if you haven't put your database in a platform yet, but really the first step of this strategy is to enrich the data and build a database of homeowners.
Got
It
it.
is impossible to become a listings
Mm,
assassin and convert your database if you do not know who the homeowners are, right? So everyone in your database, and like I'm going to show you some things today about like how you can do this with Fello, but you can do all of these strategies without us, right? Like we just make it really easy for you. But like I want everyone to think about that. Like if you first thing I want everyone to do is make sure you've got your full database, all of the contacts that you have access to, good, bad, and ugly, is in some sort of platform, CRM, sheets,
yeah.
right? And number two is you should understand for every single one of those contacts, they're either one of two things. They're a homeowner or they're a renter. I guess they could also be a squatter, but I don't think there's a squatter tag that you want to apply, right? And so it's
Everyone does. That's
like,
fine.
right. So it's like they either own their home or they're renting. And so you should have a very strong command over that in your database if your goal is to become more listings focused and start capturing more of that 7%.
All right, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right, so when we're looking at this data that allows us to, in essence, almost have blinders on the ones we want to focus on, right? Because not every contact is equal. What type of data are we looking at that completes a contact so that it starts looking a lot better for us? I'm
Yeah.
assuming like home address, phone number, email, those are the basics.
Those are
What
the
else are we looking for?
Yeah, sure. So those are the basics, and we also want to verify that all of that is accurate, right? So you can do that through multiple platforms. Fello makes it really easy to do all of it. We validate all of your email addresses. We run all of the phone numbers across the DNC list, so you know if anyone is coming back with a hit there. And then we also verify or we fill in a missing home address, and we run that across public records and actually show you that that person is the owner of that home.
Okay.
Okay. So once you get that, that's bare minimum, right? You should have name, email, address. That address now opens up a whole new world of data and data
Mhm.
points about that person and where they probably are on their selling journey, right? Just by getting that address. What I mean by that, and if it's okay, I can start to share my screen a little bit,
Yeah.
just so people can follow along what I'm talking about here. So what you're looking at real quick, this is the back end of the Fello platform. So this would be your Fello dashboard. Again, remember your database lives somewhere else, but Fello is your supercharger that's infusing it and making your database a lot stronger.
Yeah.
This is a real account. This is our CEO, Ryan Young's account. He owns and operates the Young team up in Cleveland, Ohio, #1 Real Trends large ranked team in Ohio. It's got a pretty big database, about half the size of yours. Tristan, you got him beat there. You got a massive database, but for Cleveland, Ohio, this is pretty good.
That's amazing.
76,000 contacts. And here's an initial report card. Now, he's been working with Fello for years, obviously, at this point, but you can see now we've got current property address for now up to 86% of his database, right? So that's, like I said, step number one. We want to understand who all of the homeowners are. Fello then is going, if you're missing this information, right? So if you are missing, let's say you've got their email address, but you don't know where they currently live, you don't know if they are a homeowner or a renter, Fello can actually go out and attach. If you've got good email address, we can now attach where they currently live, completing that contact for you. And we're going to show you over time, like as we're adding and enriching that database. So for Ryan's database in the last 30 days, we've added
Mhm.
185,000 data points, right? Some of those data
Wow.
are addresses, but like I said, once you get an address, now let's click into an example of a contact. Once you get an address, you are
Mhm.
now opening yourself up to be able to get a lot more data. Fello is plugged into national MLS,
Mhm.
national public record, national mortgage, as well as AVM data, so that
Mm.
once we get an address, we can now understand a lot more about this person, right? And their likelihood of selling. right? So now that I've got this address, first thing that Fello is going to do is we're going to verify, is this person, Ed Hamrick, that we've got here from the CRM, is this the current owner of this property? Yes, very high likelihood based on what's listed in public records, right?
Mhm.
We can now see, when that property last sold, at what price, who the agent was. I can actually pull up all of the MLS or public record history on that property here. We've got Quantarium, Atom, and CoreLogic AVMs. Those are the 3 leading AVM platforms nationwide. So we can start to understand what current value of this property is and
That's
some
cool.
trends over time. And then I love this. This is where I get really excited. We're also pulling in the mortgage information on this contact, right? So now we understand what the financial position is, the interest rate,
Mhm.
current balance, et cetera, on this property. This is all stuff that that Ryan probably had no idea about Ed before we got that address, right? And so that's why I said this is really step 1, super important in terms of enriching or cleaning up your database. Everybody in the chat was saying it's incomplete, right? Once you complete that database and you complete that contact card of not only name and email and phone, but now also are they a homeowner and where is that property? Now you can plug your database into a platform like Fello to understand so much more about that contact and
Got it. All right, I love this. How do we use this information now that we have it, how
yeah,
do we use it to connect with now our refined database?
exactly. So you've got 150,000 contacts, Tristan. That's incredible. You probably would open up your CRM or look at this report and Fello and be like, where do I even begin, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's my first question.
like you get all of this data, then it can be like overwhelming. It's analysis paralysis. Like it's just becomes too much. You don't even know where to start. So you just shut the laptop and you don't even start, right? Like I want to make sure that never happens. And that's why we built Fello. It's like, we're going to give you all this data, but it means nothing if you're not doing anything with it, right?
Yeah.
So what we do a couple things to help you identify that low hanging fruit, right? Now that we have all of that data on each of the contacts, we can start doing what we call segments or filters to start to pare down that database. So I showed you earlier that Ryan's team has about 76,000 contacts. I just put on this expired listing filter. What this does is it filtered for anyone in his current database. Again, these are contacts that he already has. He's not buying these expireds from somewhere else. Like, these are contacts that are already in his database. Their last MLS or public record status was some sort of expired, and it was in the last 6 months. 402 contacts in his database have listed in the last 6 months and expire. They were unsuccessful with other agents not on his team.
Mm.
Right. So let's go back to the beginning, right? We know that 7% is going to list with or without you. If your goal is to start by chipping away at that and get more of what you already have to start listing with you,
Yeah.
expired is a low hanging fruit, right? Like, you already have this contact in your database. They listed with somebody else. That kind of stings, but hey, that listing has expired, and this is an easy one to reach out to. Another one that I like to look at is, a lot of my agents are saying, well, right now it's really tough when I'm making calls. It's so demotivating. Everybody's locked into these 2 or 3% interest rates. And, they don't want it to move. And I'm like, absolutely. That is definitely happening. Let's remove the objection. Okay. So what if I came in here and I could just say, maybe you only want to talk to people who have an interest rate greater than 5%, for example.
Mhm. Mhm.
That just took Ryan's database of 76,000 down to about 15,000.
Way
Well,
better.
okay, that's way better, but it's still a lot, right? So maybe we want to talk to people who have been in the home for more than 10 years, right? So the last sale date is more than 10 years ago, right? So they've either got a interest rate of greater than 5, or they've been in the home for more than 10 years. Okay, now that took us down to about 6,000 right now.
Okay.
much more manageable in terms of like, where do we start? And we can continue to layer on top of this. Maybe I really want to talk to only with people with a property value, in this case, greater than 500,000, right? In terms of like the outreach that I'm doing. And I also want to make sure that they are in my state or in a few zip codes or cities, right? So like,
Okay. Okay.
um, in Ryan's case, let's add state on here is equal to Ohio. And you can see, like, as I'm starting to filter these down and what filters and what targets. So now I'm at 864, right?
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
now I'm getting really, really dialed in and targeted. I always say, like, when we're talking about listings, it's a Navy SEAL approach, right? We're not doing spray and pray to the whole database. We got to
Mhm.
do right. Like, we really got to hone in on the right message and find the right context in the database, because you can't force anybody to sell their home, right? Like, they're going to sell when they're ready. But how do you identify some of these segments that are most likely to list next in your database or that you
Mhm.
want to work with, right? So that's what, like, when I'm working with a new agent or a new team who's joined Fellow, those are questions that I'm always asking. Like, what is the lowest hanging fruit in your market and who do you want to work with? Let's go enrich the database and find out people that you already know, that you already have in your database, that you already bought, right? Some
Yeah.
that fit that profile.
I have a couple of questions while
Yeah, sure.
you're on here. Here's one. How do you decide what parameters or filters to choose? Is it that is just based on what your target is, or how are you doing it?
Yeah. So we've got a ton of targets and segments and filters already pre-made, right? So those are things that just will share with you right off the bat, right? So the expireds is one that everyone is always very interested in. The interest rate filters, everyone's always very interested in. Time and home is another one. Fellow also does some automated marketing. We're not going to have time to get into that today. Maybe that's a future topic, but are people engaging with some of the automations that Fellow is doing, like high engagement scores, right? We come with all of that pre-canned and prepared for you, but I always like to make some tweaks. And the way that, even if you're not sure what tweaks you want to make, this is kind of going back to initial anxiety that I mentioned earlier. Is we are going to show you, when you join Fellow. Let me go back to my homepage. I mentioned 7% of the database is going to list no matter what, with or without you, right? So we have what's called this property intelligence report. Because we have all of that MLS and public record data, and now we have their address, we're also going to start running your database against the MLS and public records every day and show you who is listing with or without you, right? So we're going to prove
Mhm.
to you, we're going to show you on day one, last 12 months, this is 7% of your database that listed. This is how much you lost.
Wow.
And so if we don't, going back to the question about the segments, so like, let's go last 180 days for Ryan's team. Um, let's just look at what you lost in the last 180 days and find some trends here, and go target more of that. So here's a big gut punch, right? Ryan's team, he's a CEO of Fellow. He's been using Fellow for years, right? He's got a lot of this dialed in. Um, he and his team are very focused on these strategies. He's got 76,000 contacts in the database. In the last 180 days, there have been 2,429 listings in that database,
Mhm.
and 177 of those were with his team. The value of his database over the last 180 days in terms of listings is 1.1 billion in volume, and
Dang.
81 million of that is with his team,
That's pretty good, man.
right? So, and you can actually click into these and, like, who you won, who you lost, and, like, we can add tags to these and push them into your CRM if you want to investigate there. But if you don't understand what you're losing today, how are you going to get better, right? How are you going to decide what to target, right? How are you going to know that what you're doing is actually moving the needle? right? Otherwise, you're just going to spray and play, you're going blind, you're going to celebrate the listings that you get, which is great. Like, it's fine to operate that way. But if your goal is to leverage your database to get more listings, well, you got to get really honest with yourself on what is the quality of the data, right? And how am I going to enrich that? And then what am I losing today? And how am I going to track it? Am I getting better at that day over day?
All right, 2 questions.
Sure.
Elizabeth and Armine. So Elizabeth, I'm going to yours first. Elizabeth says, I live in a resort area with a lot of second homeowners. How do I handle that? And how would I use Fello?
Yeah, exactly. So if they have multiple properties, Fello is going to pull in multiple properties. So you may see if they own a property in your market and where else that they're living. A lot of our teams and agents in second home markets are also leveraging Fello for a massive referral pipeline. Right? They might have a lot of buyers who live out of market who might be looking to move or retire or buy that second home, that vacation home in your market. And they might be selling their home in another market, right? To fund that. Great. That starts to create a very strong referral pipeline, but it also is going to show you some signals, right? That they may truly be in a financial position to move to your market on the buy side based on their selling position or their equity in that home, in their main primary home.
Awesome. All right.
Right.
So then second question. I have kvCORE. Can I use this software to identify the fields that are missing?
Yes, I love that. We love kvCORE, love the Bold Trail platform. Great partners of Fello. We have a direct integration actually with kvCORE Bold Trail. So if you choose to join Fello, it's just a flip of a switch that you turn on. Your contacts come over into Fello. We clean them up and we push them all back and update the fields that you already have in kvCORE. So love that. Great question. That's not just kvCORE, right? Like that's with it really any CRM. We have integration. We are CRM agnostic. So like I said in the beginning, no matter what CRM that you're using, whether that's a true platform or even just a Google Sheet, Fello can help you and integrate there.
All right, one more question, because it kind of goes with what you're talking about. Can you integrate Fello with CRM capabilities like messaging and campaigns?
Love that question, Maya. Thanks
Good question.
Yeah, really great question, because today we talked a lot about data, but again, data means nothing without action, right? Like if it's all just sitting there, it's not going to do any good for you, right?
Yeah.
So the next step in this strategy, and today again, we talked a lot about enrichment, but the next step, and maybe Tristan, we can plan something in the future to talk about step 2, is what automations, what campaigns, what triggers are you going to have deploy out of your CRM? Or we also have some automations in Fello too, based on this data. So Maya, just in a nutshell, what we would do is let's say, Maya, you are really focused on people who've been in their home for more than 10 years, over 500,000 and a square footage over 3,000. And because you are going to be the expert in downsizers, right? Like, let's just make this scenario. Fello would then tag all of those contacts in your CRM. So now in your CRM, you have tags, or if you have a certain field that you want to denote for each of them. So now you know that that person fits that profile based on your Fello data, and that tag can trigger an action or a plan or an email or a text campaign or a call task or a direct mail piece or whatever that is out of your CRM. Right. And so that's a lot of what we coach our agents to do is like, step 1 is we got to get real honest with the data. And then step 2 is what are we going to do about it? Right. And I always say you can't spray and pray, right? Like it's not same message to everybody across the board. It's got to be a very pointed message to them about them and where they are in their selling journey and with their home. Right. But if you're going to use the data to inform that.
I love that. And yes, there's integration with Follow Up Boss and Fello. It's a really good integration.
It's an awesome integration. Mary, I'd love for you to see it. I know we've got some links and maybe QR codes for the folks who are interested.
Really quick. There's the QR code, everyone. Go ahead and scan it. We'll put up the link as well in the chat. But I have a question. On the left-hand side where we have all of those little icon choices, where you have, what are those? Can you just go through those really quickly? I'm curious.
Yeah, so it's just the different pages in here. So up here, we've got our home dashboard, right? So this is just going to be your understanding of like, high level, how's Fello working for you, right? Your property intelligence report, those deals that you've won or lost, how Fello's infusing your database with additional insights, submissions. These are leads or hand raisers, filling out forms through Fello's automation. So Fello can run email as well as direct mail campaigns for you. And these are people who are responding to those, right? So that's what you got here on your dashboard. Fello also gives you an optimization score. So we're going to tell you how well you're using your Fello account, and we're going to make some recommendations for things that you can be doing a little bit better. So while you will absolutely have a fabulous customer success manager on my team who's going to be coaching you through all of this, if you're up here on your Fello account in the middle of the night and you're tinkering around, like, you're going to have some help right there. One other thing that I want to hit on our home screen here is our Ask AI tool, which is available to everyone and Fello. This is no additional cost. If, again, you don't even know where to start, like you're like, I'm paralyzed, you can just ask Fello AI to help you. So I want to find contacts, find me contacts with interest rate greater than 5%, right? Rather than me building that filter that I showed everyone earlier today, like you can just come in here and type this in and it'll pull the list for you, right? Which I absolutely love.
Kerry, that's like the biggest we should have started with that. Be like, listen, just go here.
Yeah, just go here. That's all you got to do. I like to show the nitty gritty on the back end, right? But like, this is you're going to like this even better then. Generate a call script, right? So now you got a list of all of those people. Like, how should I be talking to, I'm about to call James. I'm just picking a random person. And this takes a second to load, but so I'll talk about it as it goes through. If you ever, you get all this data and then you feel paralyzed, right? Or you want to equip your agents, or if you've got a VA or an ISA who are making the calls for you, what are the best things that they should be saying to this person based on all of this data? Well, Fello is also like a little coach who's sitting on your shoulder at all times. You got your Ask AI chat script of, if you get this person on the phone based on their address and all of those insights that we have on their address, this is the scripting that we recommend based on their balance, based on their interest rate, right? If they're ready to move forward or not, like, what should we say, right? So Fello, and this is constantly learning too. Again, we've got over 20,000 agents on the platform today. We're managing about 50 million contacts. This is all data that's just getting better all day, every day, based on everybody that we've got on the platform. So I know that. I know you want to know about the other we've got some lead function here. So if you want to work the contacts here in Fello, you can. Most of our clients choose to work them out of their CRM through the integration, but we do have the ability, if you want to use this more as a CRM, you can. Contacts, we spent a lot of time on that today. We've got some conversational AI and automations that we workflows to make sure all of this is going into your CRM and applying tags and doing all this stuff that you want it to. And then, of course, reporting. How is the engagement? What is the property intelligence? How are the emails or postcards performing? So a ton of awesome and cool stuff in here. And again, I think we can get into total analysis paralysis. So I always like to just bubble it or boil it way down of like, take a breath. We know 7% of the database is going to list in the next 12 months. You've got to enhance your data, right? So like, bring all your data, good, bad, and ugly. Let's clean it up, scrub it up, and get it in tip-top shape. And then let's talk about some automations and some scripts that we can use to go after that profile of people who is most likely to be on that 7% list in the next 12 months.
That's awesome. There's a lot here. I wonder if we just break down. So I'm curious because I took notes and I'm thinking here. Let me talk to you. I put just out of doing this with you a few times, the key to Fello is the data, the filters, the prompts, and the automations.
Right.
But you hadn't shown me the AI piece, so I'm going to add that in there.
Yeah, the AI piece is new. We launched it about 30 days ago. It was and to our existing client base, and now it's available to all new customers. We're super proud of it, and it's only going to get better. Like, if you thought that was cool, just wait. Tristan, I'll come back in a couple months, and I'll really blow your mind.
All right, good. So then What do you want to talk about next? Because I feel like I'd like to understand those icons on the left, but at the same time, I want to also see the magic. Like I want to understand the automations
Yeah.
that actually get the hand raisers so that
Yeah.
we can convert these people.
Yeah, absolutely. So then here's the magic. And let me just say, give you an example. My biggest win, where I get the most excited, and this is usually like an aha moment for a lot of our clients,
Mhm.
is I take an old Zillow lead, and I'm just using that as an example. Old Zillow lead, buyer lead that you bought 6 years ago, called them and they answer. They probably bought a home with someone else. They're sitting in archive, right? Like we all have that archive stage in our CRM, or unresponsive or pond, right? Like it's just you got name, email, maybe phone. You bought the lead for pretty low cost years ago, and it's just sitting there dormant, right? The magic of Fellow is we take that lead, we find where they currently live. So now we find out, yep, that buyer lead bought a home 5 years ago with somebody else. You lost out, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So now we find out where they currently live. Now I also, through the data, I can see that this is a person who is highly likely to sell based on different parameters. Fellow starts dripping on this person through some automations for you. We do some home value emails, market update emails. We can do cash offer messaging, luxury listing messaging, interest rate, depending on what's going to be most relevant to that unique homeowner. And we get them to then respond, raise their hand, click something on the email that starts a conversation with you as the agent. And I have now taken a old, dead, cheap buyer lead from 5, 6 years ago, resuscitated it as a homeowner, and through automation, gotten them to raise their hand to you about now selling, right? And just think about what the customer acquisition cost of doing that is, right?
Yeah.
Versus if you can take something that you thought was archive or trash or unresponsive or incomplete in your database that you already have, you're not spending, no more money, and that is now a listing appointment versus going and buying a seller lead somewhere else, right? And you can be paying up to 40% at closing on a seller lead these days.
Yeah.
You're looking to grow your business in a profitable manner. Like it starts to make a lot more sense to invest in the database that you already have.
Yeah, of course. It enhances everything you've been paying for and working on, and now it actually means you can close it because you understand what it actually
Right.
is. I
Right.
love this. Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of clarity. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll end with there's no such thing as bad leads. It's just incomplete data, right? At the end of the day. So,
True.
um, super super thrilled and honored to be here with you all today. I love the time, Tristan, and I know we put some stuff in the chat and we got the QR code there.
Yeah.
We've got some exclusive discounts for the lab coat agents community. It's all dependent on the size of your database or the size of your team, very customized based on what the needs of you and your business and your database are. But if you scan that QR code or click the link, you're guaranteed to get connected with someone on my team who's going to get you hooked up with all the discounts.
Excellent. And if you have any questions and you didn't click on it or anything, just reach out to me,
Sure.
Facebook, Instagram, or wherever you're watching this, and I'll get you to the right person. Thank you so much, Kerry. Appreciate this.
Awesome. Thanks, Tristan.
Thanks, everybody.